My name is Stacy. I served 13 years as a U.S. Army Recon Platoon Sergeant. Over the last 7 months, I've been leading a team called Operation North Star, which is made up of current and former Special Operations people, Department of Defense people, and Intelligence Agency people. And our primary goal right now is to help evacuate Americans and Afghans from Afghanistan. In the wake of the U.S. government's rapid departure, there was a definite gap that was created. And there was lots of Americans and allies that were left behind, and nobody was helping them. So us and 17 other organizations who are all umbrellaed under the Special Operations Association of America with a thing called Moral Compass Federation stepped in to fill that gap. Today's story, we're going to meet Gholam and Michael Tritt, and we're going to talk about his evacuation and how all of that went down. So let's maybe start there. Let's talk about how Michael and Gholam, how the two of you first met each other.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was an interpreter in Afghanistan in Shindan district, and it was in FOB Shindan. I was working for Security Kandak as an interpreter and cultural advisor. So after a while, I saw Mike, and I waved, and it's still the same as he's smoking cigarettes. His cigarettes right now, he was smoking cigarettes, and after waving, we start talking, and I was working somehow for him. He was part of 838 Expedition Advisory, so we were talking sometime together about different stuff.
And now this was Air Force. You
Well,
were on helicopters.
So I was on helicopters. I was an aerial gunner. At this point, though, I was already out of the military. I went to Afghanistan as an advisor of sorts, but as a contractor. So I was attached to the 838th Air Expeditionary Advisory Group.
Yeah.
But did you still eat like the Air Force? Did you get the steak and the lobster and the whole country club treatment?
Of course, brother. We were on an Air Force base. I mean, there's...
Did you have a 18-hole golf
there was
course?
Ice cream. No, we didn't have the golf course. We're working on that, though. But, yeah, and what stood out about Gholam, I guess, from some of the other interpreters was, you know, they always say, don't talk about religion with them, don't talk about certain things. He was just a easy guy to talk to, and we'd actually talk about religion. He'd actually inform me about the Quran. I'd ask questions, and we'd have a good time about it. And there was no judgment. There was no, my religion's better than yours. It was just, hey, if you want to learn more, like you should look up this poet. He's just knows poetry from like the 13th century. So we would just sit out there. I mean, just talking like human beings should do. And that's really how we met, and we just enjoyed each other's company. And he was like, what, 18, 19, something like that?
I was 20-ish.
20-ish.
Yeah. I was 20-ish, and I was very young. I didn't know even lots of stuff there. I had less experience for everything. Just I knew the only thing I do here is my job as an interpreter, just interpreting for American from Afghans. Yeah, that was the whole thing.
How many years were you an interpreter?
About 2 years.
And how was that as an experience for you? And how did you get in that role?
Before I became as an interpreter, I was in school yet. So I was a teacher in English classes for other students, the people to learn something English. Then I saw some people are going and become an interpreter. Then I went to the headquarters back in Herat to see if I'm eligible for that. If I can be as an interpreter, it's good. Then I went there and I registered my name, and I got okay, and they said you can come as an interpreter, and I went to the Shindan. It was my first job.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to learn English?
It took me 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it easy or hard?
I say it was very hard.
If I had to learn Dari or Pashtun, I'd be screwed.
I say this.
I speak English, German, and some Spanish.
Yeah.
Nothing is
Punch.
easy. Yeah, nothing is easy except you try. If you try, then it is easy. For me, it was difficult because back in the time, people did not know English, and I had to study every book 2-3 times to finally um, graduate from the books we had to study.
Yeah. So while the two of you were there, clearly you bonded, which then leads us into the main reason why we're here to talk today is about the evacuation stories. So tell us a little bit, Gholam, about what you saw happen in Afghanistan as the U.S. started pulling away and the Taliban started rapidly taking over, and the government, for lack of a better word, just folded like a lawn chair and collapsed. And you were in like Herat, right?
Yes.
So what happened?
For me, I could never expect that Taliban are coming back again to Afghanistan. It is a nightmare for all Afghans that they have back Taliban in Afghanistan again. I could never expect this, that U.S. would withdraw all his troops suddenly from Afghanistan and leave the people and allies behind. So before we hear that U.S. is going to pull out, I was living in Herat, and Herat was actually, it was very good, quiet, not having more fight than other provinces. But it was very close to pulling out the troops. Then I was hearing and seeing from the TV and sometimes hearing gunshots from the rural area, from the suburbs. Oh, the Taliban are getting close to the city and like that.
So was there a lot of panic in the city amongst the people who are like, holy cow, the Americans are leaving and everything's like falling apart?
Anytime that U.S. was announcing that we are going to pull out from Afghanistan, all people were, they were in a fear that if U.S. is going to pull out, what will happen to them, and who is going to run the country? Does the government going to run the country as a good government or not? Then finally, U.S. pulled out, and unfortunately, the circumstances are very bad.
So at some point, you realized things went completely sideways,
Yes.
and then you're like, I gotta get out.
Yes. Actually, it was after I got done with the job. I had some connections with my advisors. So it was in 2016, and I saw on my Facebook, okay, here is Michael. And I sent a friend request because I didn't know at that time. Right now I see that Americans are very busy in their country because they have many things to struggle with. And I sent a friend request. Then he accepted that, and we had sometimes greeting together, saying how are you and stuff, happy birthday. And somehow we had conversation together. It was till April 2021. Then I went to Mike. I sent him a text that, Mike, I have a bad situation with my case. Can you help me out?
Your SIV.
Yes, it was my SIV case. I was waiting for like 7 or 8 years to get approval in visa.
Right. But at some point, weren't you in a store or something, and the Taliban came in, and you're like scared, and you're like, that's it, I'm done. I got to get out of here.
Yeah. Before I joined U.S. military as an interpreter, I did not know that when I became an interpreter, what will happen to my life, actually. Then when I became an interpreter, I was hearing that Taliban, some other insurgent groups, they are beheading interpreters, and they are calling American allies, and they are calling them infidels, and we scared. Then we had to just make ourselves in a position to be safe. So after I got done with the job, I was always scared of getting killed, kidnapped, my family, and Taliban or other people who wants to make you scared, asking you for money or all this stuff.
Yeah.
It was very close for Afghanistan fallout. Then I was I was working in a tailor shop. I'm a tailor. And it was on 2nd April, I was in the back of machine and I was sewing a pair of clothes, and a bullet just shot from the big cemetery we had in front of the shop, and just it hit through the window, and from the window it hit straightly to the wall. And I asked the other people, what's going on? What happened? I knew that there is a bullet, but I did not know that this bullet is coming from a 240 or 247 gun.
Yeah.
Because at that time, Taliban were close to the city, but it wasn't near to the city, near to my shop, that a bullet comes and it goes through the window and the window through the wall. And at that time, I really scared, and I just got a shot, a picture of the bullet, and I sent to Mike. Mike, I have a very bad situation. Can you help me out? Then before we had conversation about my SIV case and stuff, then he said, oh, you have to move. Then I said, if I have to move, where should I go? My SIV case is not done. Then he said, okay, I'm trying to do something. I did not know that I'm going to Kabul and he is going to help me out all this stuff. But longest story, brother.
Right. But eventually you moved from Herat to Kabul. What was that like?
Let's hear a little bit from Mike.
No, I want to hear your story because it's your Afghan James Bond version of how you went from Herat to Kabul. So what was the final straw in Herat that made you go to Kabul when you said, like, it's worth the risk? Because it was a big risk, right?
It was, yes.
I mean, that was your first, like, real no shit, like, this is life and death. We may not get to Kabul.
That was a big risk. I had another risk always after quitting the job. Right. Anytime I was walking on the street, going to home, just looking to the back. Is somebody chasing me? Maybe somebody stops at the shop, just put a bullet on your forehead, and you're done because you were allies with America.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that later because the Taliban reprisal killings are a real thing, right?
Yes.
If you're an interpreter, if you're an ANISOF, former government official, women's rights activists, they are hunting them down and systematically killing them, and the entire international community isn't doing anything.
Yes. After I had a long conversation with Mike, he said, dude, you have to just go somewhere to be safe. I said, very safe. I'm in the center of the city and I'm not safe. Where should I go? He said, you have to go to Kabul. I said, okay, my SAV case is not done. He said, just go there. I said, okay. Then he said, do you need anything? Because I never asked anybody anything. Then he said, I send you money. And I stopped talking, saying yes or no. Then after a week, finally, I said, okay. Then he sent me a bunch of money, like $800, and it is a lot of money in Afghanistan. And I got the Afghan money in exchange from the bank. And he
you're
told
married.
me,
you got a wife and 2 kids.
Yes. He said, get your wife in case. I said, no, I'm going to Kabul to see if it's going to happen. Then I'm going to get the kids and wife. He said, no, you can't. There is no opportunity for you after this time. I said, okay. Then he told me go book tickets, flight, then fly to Kabul. I said, okay. After I got the money, I went to a friend of mine and I told him I'm going to go to Kabul and I need tickets. He said, okay. When do you want it? I said, anytime. He said, okay. Okay. I got the tickets for Saturday, and it was after 5 or 7 days. I told him I need it sooner. I have to go to Kabul. I need to do something there. He said it is a very good time and it is cheaper. I said, I don't care about the cheap right now. Just, I want to go to Kabul. He said, okay. As he was checking his computer for booking the tickets, he said, no, all the tickets are done. You have only Saturday. Do you want it or no? I said, okay, yes, I want. It was not Saturday. On Thursday, Herat gone. And I got stuck there.
Yeah.
Then
Herat was overran with Taliban.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was at that point you said, look, I gotta get out of here. They're gonna find me. They're going to figure out I was an
Yes,
interpreter.
I told him that Herat is gone. What should
Right.
I do right now?
So how did you get from Herat to Kabul? Tell us that story.
Yeah. Then he said you have to find out. Then I shared the idea with my dad and another friend of mine. And it's time for my prayer. So they said, okay, we are going to give you a drive to Kabul. And I said, okay. Then I found out, no, it's going to be more dangerous. I have to be with a bunch of other people to look more normal. Then I went to the travel agencies, for the bus travel agencies, and I looked for the bus tickets.
Yeah.
I came back. There was no bus tickets in 10 days. I came back and I texted him and I said, brother, there is no bus tickets too. I came back and I was sad because I can't do anything. I was sitting in the shop on the chair and suddenly a friend of mine, he was my neighbor. I knew him. He was working for Italian. And he told me, Gholam, bye. I said, where do you want to go? He said, I'm going to buy tickets and I'm going to go to Kabul. I said, don't go there. I already checked the travel agencies and there is no bus tickets. He said, what should I do? I don't know. Just find somehow, because your brother is a truck driver. He is a bus driver. He may know some people. He can buy tickets for us. Then he told me there are 24 other people. I didn't know till that time, and he did not know me till that time that I have HIV case, because it was dangerous for everybody who was working, and they claimed that we are going to Europe or going to US. Then he said, okay. Then he went to talk to his brother. He called every agency he knew, and they couldn't find tickets for us.
Mm-hmm.
Then he found that, okay, he has a friend that he sells buses. Then he said, do you want a complete bus? Right now, there is no other choice. Let's get the bus. He needs 24 seats, and I need 4 seats. Okay, we are going to pay the rest of that.
So he just
Yeah.
chartered a bus.
Charter
Yeah.
a bus. Why not?
He called his friend, and he said, I have 2 buses right now. They are active. I can't give you the new bus because right now the situation is very bad. I can give you the older one. He confirmed, and we got the bus. What we did, because to look more normal, just we got the bus. We went to the bus travel agencies. We just took some other people.
Yeah. And you have to look normal because the Taliban at this point basically control the country, and they've got checkpoints everywhere.
Of course they have.
Right.
Of course
So that's
they have.
why you got to go through these extraordinary steps to charter your own bus, to try to blend in, to try to do the whole gray man thing, right? Because you've got to, I mean, that's not a short drive
No,
from
it
Herat
wasn't.
to Kabul.
No, it
That's
wasn't.
not a short ride.
No, it
It's
was
over
not.
400 miles.
That's like 400
Yeah.
miles.
Yeah.
That's a lot of checkpoints.
Yes. So, because I had the experience from back and forth going home and come back to Shenzhen to work, and I had the experience how to look more normal. And I learned from American how to look more normal because I was an interpreter and I knew and I learned something from them. So, and
So what did you do on the bus to blend in? What was your your James Bond strategy?
I got 2 of my friends, and I told him one was a mechanic, another was another guy. He sells cars and buys cars, so he has that deal. And I told them, guys, they are the friends I could tell them whatever I knew, whatever I had in my life. I could trust them. I have a trip into Kabul. I give you I buy the tickets for you and everything. The only thing I need you is, because I want to look more normal, and I need you to keep me safe a little bit. If something happens, then we talk together on the way and we are good to go. They said okay, because in Afghanistan, normal people
Right.
always.
But you went to extraordinary steps.
Uh-huh.
Tell us about those extraordinary steps. What did you do? We know what you did.
Well, I told my wife, I know some other people do not do that, but I'm going to do that. Because this was the only thing that was coming in my mind for many years. If I'm going to somewhere, if it is dangerous for me, what I'm going to do? Always it was in my mind. Getting some
Mike's dying over here.
getting some bandages and put some alcohol, yellow alcohol in it, and just put bandage on your head and your whatever your with left or right hand.
So you basically faked a head and bodily injury.
I had to. If somebody was
Right.
just coming to the bus and asking,
Because the likelihood then is they would not question you at any of these multiple checkpoints, and you could just
even if they were asking questions, because I was sick and nobody is going to bother a sick guy. Are you going to bother
Right.
a sick guy? No, you don't. So,
which is
Afghan 007.
ingenious. And where did you get this idea from?
actually, this was the only idea that I was thinking with myself anytime that I'm going to somewhere. This is
Yeah.
the only way that I could do. Even this was the idea for other friends of mine.
Which is brilliant. So you chartered your own bus. You load your family on this bus. You fake bandage up your head and your body.
They get other fake passengers. Hey, you want to go to Kabul? Just
Yeah,
get in the bus.
Yeah, they got other fake passengers. Hey, we need you to role play.
At that time,
It's like Argo.
Right? I mean, it really is. It's an astonishing story. So you went through all these checkpoints. Was there at any point in any of these checkpoints where you were like, uh-oh, I'm gonna get caught?
look, I did not know till that time that Taliban in 20 years, 21
Well, right,
years.
you didn't know what you're going into, but
Yes.
when you were on the bus and you're actually going out and you've got on your fake bandages, and I know that you went through some checkpoints. Was there any one of those particular checkpoints when you went, uh-oh, this might be it?
The checkpoints actually were starting from Mir Daoud, which is the gate of entering and exiting of Herat to Kabul and Kandahar. We had too many checkpoints.
Right.
I did not count that, but if you just say if Taliban had checkpoints every 30 minutes, 20 minutes, or 1 hour drive
Yep.
from Herat to Kabul, how many checkpoints could be? I'd say like from 40 to 50 checkpoints. And every checkpoint, they were stopping the bus.
And they get
and
on the
asking,
bus,
and
and they come in there with their guns, and they look at everybody.
Not regular Taliban. It was like a special forces.
The Rangers?
Like a Taliban red cell.
I say that, yeah, I don't know, red line, they're saying whatever. I couldn't expect the Taliban are looking like this. They have like special forces. One is coming and questioning you, the other one is having the gun. The way that the Americans were training Afghan ANA and Afghan Air Force.
Weird.
So,
Well, there was a lot of defectors,
Yeah.
there,
and there's more every day.
I was afraid of this. I was afraid of their fingerprints machine.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Because you didn't have to go through any biometrics. There was no biometrics between Herat and Kabul,
Thank
right?
God.
It
Thank
was.
God.
Thank
it
God.
was, but back at that time, so I was scared of that too,
Right.
because there were many people. Why there was not tickets from Herat to Kabul? Because too many people had to flee.
Well, of course.
So
Why did I tell you to go to Kabul?
All right. So in the sake of time, let's skip ahead. So you went from Herat to Kabul with your little method acting James Bond
yeah,
head damage routine, right?
Mhm.
Which is great.
Brilliant.
So you get to Kabul. What happened in Kabul?
after
Initially.
too many checkpoints, I was very close to Kabul. I think it was Wardak. After Wardak, I don't know which provinces are coming. I got a call from my uncle's son, cousin, and he said that he didn't know that I'm going to Kabul.
Yeah.
just he called me that how are you and stuff. So Afghan greetings, too many greetings, too many
Hi,
stuff.
how are you? How is your
How's
family?
the family?
Yeah.
Yes. Would you like
So-
some food? Would you like some
food?
tea?
Come inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
He said that Kabul is gone. Fella, oh my God.
He literally got there, I think,
Very-
Sunday-ish,
Right.
when it all went, when people
Right.
were
So
falling off planes.
he help me understand the timing here, because this is still pre me getting involved.
Yes.
So he gets to Kabul just really before everything in the city went to shit.
Pretty much the day that I think the bodies were falling from the C-17s, that's
Yeah.
the day he got there.
Yeah.
That is the day he got there, and
Right.
that's why I'm like, get to the airfield.
So for those who are just watching this who maybe don't know what happened in Kabul, right around August 31st was the last American who got on a plane and left.
Yeah.
And shortly before that happened, it was chaos at HKaya, which is the Karzai airport.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it's a hectic scene. I mean, there's thousands of people crowding the gates. There's everybody and their mother trying to get into the airport. There's people literally hurling their babies over the wired fences, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
everybody calling everybody, trying to figure out who everybody is. There's stories of people holding up a red suitcase or wearing a yellow scarf so they can be identified. There was a number of people holding up blue American passports who couldn't even get in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, the scene is chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely chaos. And then in that chaos, the bombing happens at the Abbey Gate. We lose 13 American soldiers. One of our ground operations lost another 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
There was hundreds of people who were killed. And prior to that, you were there before the bombing, right?
Yep.
Yes. It
And
was.
what was that like with you and your family? Because you were trying to get into the airport as well, right?
The day I got to Kabul.
Yes.
So, I learned, okay, Kabul is gone. Then I shared the idea with my friend, the one who was my neighbor. And I told him, okay, Kabul is gone. What you gonna do right now?
And again, it's important to mention this was pre-bombing.
Yes.
Yes.
It was before August.
It's like maybe 15 days before the bombing.
Yeah.
He said, now, what's the other choice what we can do? Even if we go to Herat, the situation would be the same. But I was afraid more than Herat in Kabul, that because many people were working for the government and organizations. So maybe they're going to slaughter all people.
Right, because outside the airport they were whipping people, beating people, absolute chaos. And you and your family got rolled up into it, right?
Yeah.
What happened there? Tell me that story.
The day we got there, we spent one night to the apartment, and tomorrow of that night, I told Mike, okay, I'm going to go to one of the gates of the airport.
North Gate. North side.
North side of the airport.
That's where I was used to be at. So I'm like,
was
go to the north side.
There were.
It was like Monday or Tuesday, because that's when you called me out of the blue at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
By the way, this episode is sponsored by Eldorado 75 and MAAP Real Talk Radio. Thank you for filming this.
You did forget to. Yes. Anyway, yeah. So I got the call at like 3:30 in the morning. I'm at my mother-in-law's house because her husband's not doing well, and he throws an A&A guard who speaks. I have to say, he speaks better English than Gholam.
Yeah.
I did not know what the heck was going on. I woke up out of sound sleep, and he's like, "Who's this?" I should have said somebody higher up or somebody that should have been known, but I'm like, Mike Tritt? And he's like, okay, am I letting them in? I'm like, yes, let them in the gate. And he's like, how many? I forgot he was there with another family, so I was like, 4. And he's like, roger that, 4. But then all of a sudden, the connection was really bad, and then I just heard a crap ton of gunshots and a lot of screaming, and the line went dead, and I'm like, oh, shit. And then he messages me back like, Taliban showed up, started shooting. Everybody scattered.
And this was the first time
That was the very first time we sent them to the North Gate.
the first time you thought you got him killed.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's going to be many times in
There
this
is
story.
many times, yes.
But this was the first time you're like,
That
I
was
sent
the
him to
first
the
time.
north. I sent him to the North Gate.
Yep.
He's on the phone. We're trying to get him in, and it's chaos and there's gunfire, and you're like, oh shit.
And the line just goes dead. I'm like,
Right.
oh crap! I'm trying to call back. Nobody's picking up. But yeah.
And Gholam, you and your family are in this chaotic situation. There's gunfire. There's beating, and your family got rolled up into some of that melee.
From Taliban, because they're beating everybody. You had to be on the ground to understand how the situation was.
Yeah.
Of course, we had too many clips and videos from the gates back in Kabul, but you had to be on the ground and to see how scary it was, how people were rushing through the gates.
Well, they were throwing their babies over barbed wire fences, and the babies were getting caught up on it.
Yes. Let me
And
tell
all
you
the
this.
pictures of the Marines with the kids, they're like, I'm a combat Marine.
Yeah, I don't know what to
and
do
now
with
I'm
them.
standing here with like 2-3 infants in my arms. What is this? I'm not trained for this.
It was the first time I went to the North Gate.
Yeah.
With my two, I think first time I went with my family or without family, I forgot it. But I went 2-3 times there.
Mm-hmm.
First time I went with the family. And we went to the gate. So there were many people. Thousands of people were to the gate.
Yeah, tens of thousands
Yes.
of people there. It was chaos.
And at that gate, because we found out the only gate that is running by the Afghan forces is only the North Gate. So we went to that gate.
Yeah.
And
Did you send him down to the Abbey Gate?
We went
After
North
that.
Gate, then we went to Abbey Gate, then we went to East Gate. Basically, before I was talking with you, I had the former NSA guy was hooking me up with some MARSOC guys, and they were feeding me intel live feed through Signal, and then I had another guy that was actually
So let's make that segue. So
Yeah.
H. Kaya's chaos. You're trying to get in. He loses you in the communication. Your family gets wrapped up in a melee with the Taliban. Your wife gets beat significantly, not seriously, but enough to leave bruising and stuff from a Taliban.
Yeah.
And then at what point, then you left that area, and then at what point did you realize that you couldn't get him out?
it was probably after the 10th try at the gates.
Yeah.
Because it was honestly, it was the bombing. Because I sent him, so all the intel I got was even the ISR platforms. The guy had to work on the ISR said, send him to Abbey Gate now. And that was like, I had to call him up. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, get his ass up, get the other family up. Problem was the other family's wife decided they should go to the Serena Hotel. So I'm like, let me check my intel guys on this, and flash message, do not go to the Serena Hotel.
Do not go to the Serena.
It's a trap. There, I'm like, I had to call him, and I'm like, where are you? He's like, we're right outside the gates of the Serena Hotel. I'm like, do not go in there. It's a trap. They're they're trying to lure all interpreters there.
Yeah.
Get away. So they turned around. Then they finally make it to Abbey Gate. But by the time they got there, with all that delayed time, tens of thousands of people at Abbey Gate. So this asshole is like, literally, you know me, I've been working my day job, doing all this stuff at night.
And mind you, Afghanistan's on exact opposite time of us.
It's like 12
Yes,
hour
It's
difference.
a 12-hour
11 and a half,
difference.
12-hour difference.
It's almost a 12-hour difference.
So, he basically just, I get a message like, hey, we got a guy, we paid him to take us to the front of the line. I'm like, what? He sends me a picture of a guy with a wheelbarrow and a little kid. I'm like, bro, that's on you. I mean, there's no front of the line, like, whatever. So they take him through this back canal road, and they end up at the British Gate near the Baron Hotel, which I'm like, that was my other plan B, was because they were sneaking people in that way.
Yeah.
So they're like, I'm like, and they were closer to the gate. I'm like, stay there. That's probably your best gate to get through.
And actually, that was the first gate I could touch it.
Yeah.
I could touch it.
He actually sent me a picture.
And I sent him a picture.
And I compared it with
Right, but you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't.
So you eventually left the chaos and went to a hotel. Where were you when the bombing happened?
You got beat there.
Before.
Because you were in a hotel or something when the bomb
Yes,
went
I
off.
was in the hotel.
Yeah. Was that the Baron that you were in?
No, he went back to Chicken Street.
He was on Chicken Street when the bombing happened?
So
I was in the chicken.
what happened was, after he was at the gate, I get the message, "Where's Gholam?" A bomb just went off at Abbey Gate, and then a reported of another one at the Baron Hotel gate, and I'm like, well, he's at the Baron Hotel, like, oh shit.
So when you heard about the bombing, Gholam, what was your state of mind? Like what happened? Because that was a big bomb. That killed that killed hundreds of people.
Because before bomb blew up, on Facebook, I had SIV pages and stuff, and embassy was announcing that do not go to the airport gates, that there is a big threat. And I told Mike, and Mike knew that.
We did get the same intel
Yes.
reports, but we also thought they were going to be smuggling a lot of people through, because everyone said Abbey, because this was pretty much the last day based on what intel we had on the U.S. forces, what they needed the timeline to roll up and get out.
They did. They loaded a lot of people on those airplanes.
Yeah.
People they shouldn't have put on those airplanes, if you want to be honest.
But that was the last day, and that was the gate they said. Everyone said, go to Abbey Gate.
Yeah. So, again, I want to come back to when you heard about the bombing, what was your state of mind when you realized, like, holy shit, hundreds of people just got smoked?
We were in the hotel room. My wife said there was an explosion. Did you hear that? I said no. And she said yes. Then we got calls from the families, my family, and they knew that I'm in Kabul. And the family that I went to their houses for some reasons to stay there before I go to a hotel. And they called me, where you at? I said, I'm in the hotel room. The time they said there was an explosion, actually I was there in the morning, and I sent picture to Mike that, look, if I bring the child here, they're gonna die. Thousands of people are there. And at that time I realized if a bomb is going to explode here, what will happen? Hundreds of people will die.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
Yes, I came back to the hotel. It was close to the evening, sundown, and they said explosion. When they said explosion, I said maybe 300 people die, maybe 400, maybe more than that. People were just close to each other, not just an inch
They're
away.
packed in there like sardines. It was person to person.
I want to clarify one thing on that. So the beating from the Taliban was while they were at the Baron Gate.
Yeah.
And I could not get a hold of him when the bombs went off.
Right.
Because they were on their way back, because he needed.
And of course you're thinking.
I'm thinking he's fucking dead.
Right.
I'm just like, holy shit, because just before that one, when we tried the East Gate, my intel guys were like, send him on a recon without his family, but he's like, we're gonna bring my family.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, all right, we need you to just observe.
Not the best advice.
Well, but it was the whole point of, because the only way you could get through the Taliban checkpoints was to show your documents. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not having him show his documents to any Taliban, but I wanted him to watch and see if the Taliban was looking at people's paperwork and letting them in, and if they got denied at the gate, if they were taking them out back and shooting them, because that's the rumors we were hearing. Yeah. So while he was at the East Gate, before this whole bombing went off, that's when the Taliban Rangers showed up and just started to shoot. They shot a mother and a kid right there, and that's when I thought I got him killed again. Yeah. Because I'm like, because they literally flash message, get Gholam out of there. There's a shooting at the East Gate. Because we actually had a Marine guard inside who had his name, his family name. He was supposed to get as close to the gate as possible. They would call his name out, and he would just be like, that's me. And that was his way in. Yeah. And that went to shit when the shooting happened.
Yeah, the same plan that 100,000 other people had. So, okay, the bomb goes off. Yeah. At what point do you realize I might not be able to get him out? because this is where I come into the story.
So
In a roundabout way.
So after the bombing, I mean, we did have, I don't quite remember the exact timeline, but through the MARSOC connection I had, he was on a list.
Yeah.
We wasted, and that was actually just before the bombing, because we wasted 3 days waiting, because they said, we have a list, we're going after Americans and allies. He's on the list, I was assured, and then they ran into a few issues, and then the problem was he didn't have a top secret security clearance, so they could not bump him up on the list, and they were not coming for him, but we wasted 3 days.
Yeah.
So that's when I sent him to the gate, said, this is your last chance. So after that bombing happened, I'm like, oh, fuck.
So you're at this point, you're like out of options.
I literally, this was the second time I probably drank way more than I should have.
Because that impacted you pretty heavily.
I got pretty damn depressed. And it just so happened that, a mutual acquaintance.
But that's an important part of the story.
Yeah, no,
right?
it is.
Because this is a guy that you served with, and we have a moral commitment to our allies, especially the interpreters. Our government explicitly made a promise to the interpreters that we would get you out if something went sideways.
If I'm to
Same
be
thing
honest,
to the ANISOF guys, right? The Afghan Special Forces.
The day that Herat fell, that was the first day I was in this very spot, drinking heavily, not knowing how I'm going to get him out.
So after the bombing, that was worse.
And after the bombing, it was even worse, because that was our last shot to get him out. I'm like,
well, yeah, because
there's just no way.
America said they were pulling out on the 31st, and the last dude got on the plane.
Yeah.
And they took off.
So I'm literally trying to concentrate on my job so I don't lose my job at work. And this guy Rob, he's
Marine.
He's a Marine. He was trying to motivate me to just work out every morning and keep in touch with him on my workouts. And I just said, hey, I got too much going on. I can't keep in touch with you on this. And he's like, dude, what's going on? I'm like, my Terp's trapped in Afghanistan. I can't get him out, and I don't know what to do. And he's like, I might know a guy. Stand by. And I'm like, okay. And then he called me, but I was literally on the phone with my boss, and I'm texting him like, dude, I'm on the phone with my boss, and he's like, you need to call this guy now, and I mean right now. There's a mission happening, and it's happening right now, so you need to call him to get Gholam out. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, texted you. I'm like, hey, I'm Mike. You don't know me, but Rob gave me your number.
Yeah, well, yeah, because so this is a part of the story you don't know, and how things happen so fast. So Rob, your Marine guy, who's a mutual friend of ours that I'm very close with as well, he called me and he goes, hey, Stace, I know you did some stuff in the military. You've got a lot of high-powered connections, and I know you work with a lot of high-powered political people, and you've got a lot of connections there. Can you help my buddy get his Terp out? I'm like, I don't know. Let me make some calls. So, in typical fashion of me, I call the highest, most powerful people I know, right? So I call Catherine, right? So I call Catherine. I'm like, hey, Catherine, because her and I worked on a lot of election integrity stuff, Trump campaign, Rudy Giuliani, a lot of Arizona politics stuff. So I'm like, hey, you know anything about anything that's going on in the national security sphere about how to get an interpreter out? And she goes, well, it's funny you should ask. There's this whole group of veterans and intelligence people and Department of Defense people and agency people that are all coming together by the thousands, and they're all got all this energy, and they're all amped up, and they're like, where do we go? What do we do? We need some leadership, and we need some structure about what we're going to do. And it's like I sit in this weird Venn diagram, right? Of I can speak operator speak, I can speak political speak, and I can speak NGO and big business speak, because that's those three things are my my background. So I fit right in the center of that, and that's exactly what this organization needed, called North Star. And they're like, can you come in and help us kind of like get our arms wrapped around this and kind of, you know, like just figure out what it is and how to work it and do all of this crazy stuff.
I just want to point out, I thought he was already involved with this from the beginning. I didn't know.
I was working on my golf game. I'm like trying to go from a 7 handicap to a 5 handicap. I've got a nice, cushy corporate executive job. Like, I'm living the high life.
Never knew that. The whole time we're trying to get him out, I'm thinking he's been doing this for like the past at least couple months. And I'm like, all right, this is the guy. I have people asking me like, why are you promoting this guy? I'm like, I don't know, because he hasn't gotten Gholam out yet. But I'm like, the way he talks, we get each other, and I'm like, my gut just tells me that this guy's going to get him out. And it was true.
But it happened, my involvement happened like this. I got back off the golf course.
I never knew that until we met for the first time.
He's like, hey, can you get my Terp out? I'm like, I don't know, let me make a couple of calls. So I make one phone call, and they're like, hey, we were just going to call you. Can you help us do this? And I'm like, yeah, 100%. We made a promise. Like, if I can come in, I'll help, and I'll see what I can do. So then I called Rob back, and I said, yeah, there's actually this whole thing that's spinning up. And it sounds really good to me, and I'm going to jump on a call here next. I'm going to jump in a series of calls, and I'm going to get tapped in. And let me scope it out. Let me see what it is, but let me get in contact with Mike. And I think there's a good chance. It sounds really good. So I got in, and I started getting in all these initial calls, and I'm just sitting in there and I'm being real quiet, right? Because I don't know all these people, and there's some big name people in these meetings, right? We're talking, there's some major players in these phone calls I'm on. So I'm just sitting here and I'm being quiet, like I'm just trying to observe, and I'm trying to get rolled into this new reality, right? Little did I know what I was getting myself into. Right? So I'm like, hey, this is impressive. There's like top level people in this, like serious players, serious things, serious political power being leveraged here. So that's when I told you, I said, yeah, I think we can get them out. It's not going to be easy, but I think we can do it. And maybe some of that confidence kind of rubbed off on you, and you, for the first time, thought that maybe there was another way of getting them out.
Well, it was started with the buses because it was leaving that day that I called you, and you're like,
here we go.
We're going now.
All right,
that's when
it's going to be cigar time now. So for the audience, if you've fallen asleep or if you're super interested in the story, it's about to go sideways.
Oh man,
the story's about to go bad.
First of many.
The first of many bad. So go ahead, Mike. So I tell you, I said, hey, okay. So, some random guy's
like, the buses
I don't know where
leaving.
You are. You don't know where I am.
My number's got a New York number, so he thinks I'm in New York. I'm guessing he's in Arizona because
don't ruin this part of the story yet.
Because Rob's like, I go four-wheeling with this guy. I'm like, okay. So we don't know where each other is at, and he's like, there's a mission leaving right now. It's a bus to Pakistan. We're going. We lost 5 dudes in that bombing. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. I got him and his family on the bus. It's happening. Everybody wants this to happen. I'm like, cool. He's like, wake him up. And I woke him up. And it was, I think it was a Thursday night. It's always a Thursday night. And you're like, yep, it's going to happen. Because it also, one of the other times was a Thursday night. But yeah, so woke him up. Bus is coming. Like, we wait for orders. I think I had to stay up with him because it was, well, at that time it was only still early evening here, but woke him up and then just waiting. And then, okay, all right, the bus is stalled. I'm like, all right, but we're definitely going.
Well, it wasn't stalled. There were security concerns. So the Taliban, so we had this plan to get you on a bus that was going to be a ground exfil out through Pakistan. And we had made multiple runs of this. But when the bomb went off and it killed 5 of our dudes, our security was very laxed, and then the Taliban presence was like super to the exponent. So that's why the buses never happened after that. I mean, we had at least three failed run-ups on the buses.
Yes.
I mean, there was a lot of We're gonna go. We're gonna go. And mind you, we're 12 hours difference, right?
Yeah.
So this means now for at least a week,
Yep.
I haven't.
It was
slept.
almost a week to the day because it was the first night. You're like, change of plans.
Right.
British SAS are coming.
Well, yeah, there was multiple teams,
But that was that first night because I was like, all right, Thursday night. I stayed up the whole night because they had to do it before sunup over there, and I'm like, I'm just talking to him, keeping him. He had all his bags packed, ready to go.
So this is a week of no sleep.
Oh man, it was horrible.
No sleep. Because and I had to call into my work and be like, I need to take emergency leave.
I didn't take any leave.
I'm like, I got something going on. I can't tell you what it is, but I'm out. I need emergency leave.
I took a half day off one day. That was the day that I don't remember. I think it was the bombing where like I just broke down.
So for this week to 2 weeks, there was no sleep. I'm sleeping in my office on my couch. I've got a literal J-Talk set up in my home office. I'm not kidding. I've got all of this real-time data where all the Taliban checkpoints are. I've got intel reports. We've got all these great systems that are built. I got like a real-time picture of everything in Afghanistan. And we're trying to coordinate. We've got hundreds of people trying to get Gholam and everybody out of this country. And there is no sleeping. And it's failed attempt after failed attempt after failed attempt.
Yeah.
And then we started getting desperate, right? Because we had all these foreign forces too. We had some British, some French, some German, multiple American units, and then they all pulled out. At a certain point, right? They're okay. We're all out now. And then we're like, uh-oh.
Then it was down to the, hey, Stacy, not to throw a wrench into things. Because at this point, I'm like really getting desperate. I'm like, Gholam just sold his wife's wedding ring to pay for one night after this one night. And this we still got to talk about Chicken Street.
Well, we're on. Yeah. He's already on. Now we're at Chicken Street.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. Before, but he did have to sell his wedding ring to get one more night.
Right. So this whole week, he's been held up in a hotel in Chicken Street that we can't find.
Yeah. He's like, I got the address from the guy at the front desk. I looked the address up.
And this address isn't checking out on anything. It's not on Google Maps. It's not pinning right because it's in like a mall or something.
Yeah, because he could ping from his phone to show me his location. I'm like, the address he gave me is 5 miles away. So I'm on Google Earth.
So Gholam, how many times did we send you to run out of the hotel in the middle of the night in a Taliban-infested Chicken Street?
Yeah, because it was not far from the Ministry of Defense.
To take pictures of the front door, because we got to know exactly what floor, what room, where you're at. Our operators need to see a picture of the front door. So we got to collect all this intel to get these operations going.
Yes. I sent Mike too many pictures of my location.
Like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
But the good news is the front door of your hotel was
very obvious.
Very obvious, very wild and crazy looking thing. Like neon signs. Like it was pretty easy to find.
Yeah, but before I just do the screenshot and go to the Google map, I did not know that I'm on the edge of the Chicken Street because we had the Chicken Street back in Herat. I didn't know that we have a Chicken Street in Kabul too.
Thank God there was only one fucking Chicken Street in all of Kabul, dude.
So
that's the only way we found him. Google Earth, Google Maps, and
so we had all these failed run-ups, and the stupidest things were happening. Like there were security concerns, or they had actually gotten to and picked up a full boat of people, and you were next on a list, and they couldn't get to you.
Ran out of nighttime.
So we kept running out of all these options. So he sells his wife's wedding ring to stay one more night in the Chicken Street Hotel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're pulling out all the stops, Catherine and I, right? We're calling in every favor that we can, and we're like, we need to run some black op to get him out, right? So we come up with this plan. Do you remember this one? When we said we were going to dress up like Taliban and kidnap you? Do you remember? Do you remember that? We're going to come in, we're going to knock on the door, and we said, we're here for you. And we were going to dress up like Taliban, and we were going to kidnap you. Do you remember that?
Yes, Mike told me.
Yeah.
I was awake for 3 nights, and Mike was telling me, tonight, somebody is going to show up and just telling you, let's go and pack up. Our backpacks were ready. And I told my wife that Mike is telling us that you guys be ready, and somebody is going to show up. Maybe they are
with guns, looking like
with
Taliban.
everything. Maybe they are having a military uniform of special forces. Maybe they are looking like Taliban.
So when you told this to your wife, how did that go over?
She said, "Do you really think it is going to happen?" I said, "I don't know, but they can do whatever they want."
I force-willed it to you.
So I told Mike before that look, if U.S. is going to pull out the last night, it is going to be dangerous to be in the hotel too.
Yeah.
Because I learned something of military from U.S. military people that maybe Taliban are going to search each hotel room, and they're going to ask you, who are you and why are you here? Then I said, I'm going to leave. He said, no, wait some more time. And he told me, some people are coming and just tell you, pack up and let's go. I said, okay. I told him, okay. Then I shared it with my wife. What if they are going to come here and they knock the hotel and they do not open it with the same uniform they have, maybe special forces, maybe Taliban, and somebody is going to knock the door and tell you go out and take you, then what will happen?
Right. So that's a very, for the family, that must have been kind of terrifying, right?
Yeah.
When you got to tell your wife and kids, some people, first of all, there's been a bombing, we're hiding out, I just sold your wedding ring, they're going to have people dressed as Taliban come in here and bag us and rough us up a little bit and drag us out and make a spectacle. Thank God that didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen.
Right? But the way that we did get you out without violating any OPSEC was more of a clandestine type of route, right?
Which didn't go as you told me. That's why I thought he was going out to the desert to die.
Well,
many
even you, my friend, are on a need-to-know basis sometimes.
Many things Mike told me that maybe you're going somewhere, you go to the bus, maybe you're going to the car, maybe somebody in a helicopter, you go somewhere, helicopter is going to pick you up.
Yeah, helicopters were the original plan, but those didn't work. So, so basically, now we're going to talk about how we moved you from Kabul to Masuri Sharif. So we loaded you and your family in a vehicle, and you drove. How long is that drive? That's what.
Let me finish the picture. How I went out and took the picture of the hotel. He told me, go out and take the picture. I did not say no. I said okay. Then I told my wife, he is telling me to go out and take pictures. The night all these people are going to leave, and Taliban are
they're all out shooting.
Oh yeah,
like he's out there like.
Oh, I know, because we're on the phone real time, and he's like, it's super dangerous. I'm like, listen, if he doesn't fucking go out there and take a picture of the front door, we're not going to come and get him, because we don't know what door it is, because we don't know where.
Afghan 007.
I know, but because of the map pin, it was a general area.
I know. That's why
we absolutely had to have a picture of the front door.
Because the hotel was inside of another building.
I know.
It wasn't a separate. This is a hotel like the Hilton. It was part of a gigantic mall.
But we were in a real-time conversation. He's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes." He needs to go take a picture of this door. Like, yes. Like, you don't understand. If there is no picture of the door, it's no bueno, no operation.
The point is, it was in the middle of the night, and the hotel is closed. The door is locked. Everybody is sleeping. Then how do I go out? And what do I tell the hotel guard or the hotel owner that I'm going to take a picture? What he is going to think about it?
Hey, but he's smart. He always talks his way out of shit.
I know.
He did the entire time.
So I went to the hotel guard and I told him, hey, my friend is going to come here, and I have to go somewhere. I want to take the picture because he don't know. Then he said, okay. I went and took the picture. I sent him one. He said, it doesn't look good. Go get another one.
Blurry. I couldn't read the sign.
We went back and forth on that picture like 4 or 5 times. But we got the picture. So, look, in the sake of time, We got the picture. We're going to move you now from Kabul to Masuri Sharif. As we call it
point out,
Maz.
you told me it was a convoy, and then a single car picks him up. Yeah.
Well, if I would have told you it was a single car, you would have shit your pants, and you would have probably not.
As long as you would have told me that, I would have told him, because he's like, I don't know, because when he's like, it's just me, my family, and the driver. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Who's this guy? Oh, is he? Why is he? You gonna take me out to the desert, and fucking put a bullet in you? Like, what the fuck's going on?
Just so you're aware, the guy driving the car wasn't really on board with the plan at the time either.
I know.
He did get kind of maybe a gun shoved in his face. Protect this guy and his wife.
To that guy, though, we know.
To that guy. We can't say his name.
Can't say his name.
But to the guy.
I'm Afghan.
Right. But you got your tea.
I have my water.
You got your water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So he was told.
He told me that somebody.
But that's an important part of the story, because he was told protect Gholam and his wife.
His life.
And with your life. And they were not kidding when they told him that.
He told me that somebody is going to come at the hotel and he has your number and he calls you. Okay, the guy is calling. Somebody's calling me. I was very afraid. Maybe that guy is not trusted. What will happen? I'm here. Maybe I can go somewhere else. But if he is going to pick me up, then
He was under strict orders not to answer any number unless I told him.
And mind you,
something was
Gholam and I never had any conversation at this point.
No.
This was just you and me, and then you to him.
He was the bridge between us.
I was the handler.
Yes.
So he called me. He said, "Where you are?" I said, "I'm in this hotel." I forgot the hotel name. I'm in this hotel, and he said, "Okay,
Hotel
I'm
Chicken
here."
Street.
He said, "I'm in the another street." I said, "Okay, I'm in the Chicken Street, right at the edge of this Chicken Street, and in front of the Chicken Street is the Flower Street."
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Okay, I'm going to find it." Now I said, "Okay, if I'm in the hotel, he is not going to find me. If I go out, I have the phone in all these streets, or nobody is there. Even there is not a single bird too. And Talibans are just few meters away from the hotel. And sometimes it was like hour before the Taliban were they had the happy round in shooting to the sky. So he called me. I said, okay.
Which actually helped us, because this was a time when the Taliban were celebrating their basic victory, because America had pulled out. So even for the Taliban, it was a bit chaotic, and we took advantage of some of that chaos.
Exactly. That's how before I moved to Kabul, I thought so.
Yeah.
Talibans are busy right now. And
He was going to open the door.
okay.
So tell me about going from Kabul to Masuri Sharif.
The guy, he called me. I went out of the hotel with my heart beeping, and I answered the phone, and he said, "I'm coming." And I thought that, okay, he has the car and he is driving. I thought, oh no, there's another guy driving, and there is a guy with a hat, like a panchiri hat, and a blanket somehow on his shoulders. And he called me and he said, "Oh, you're Gholam?" I said, "Yes." And I did not know his name too. And I did not know who he is working for, what kind of rank does he have, how does he look.
It's the Afghan way.
So
just get in a car with some stranger.
because
trust him.
Because he
drive 13 hours or whatever it takes to get to Maz.
Because he told me somebody is going to show up and you're good to go. I trusted, and I said okay. And I went back to the hotel room and I told my wife.
And of course, Michael's thinking it's a whole military convoy.
He was like, one car is going to pick him up,
I'm not gonna tell
and then
him.
you were going to be part of a convoy. That's what he fucking told me. And then when he texts me, he's got his phone on the side. He's like, "It's just me and the guy." I'm like, "What? What?" And I'm like, "Stacy, what the fuck?" You're like, "I don't know. That wasn't the plan." I'm like, well, don't worry about it. I'm like, "Bro, I'm in my closet. I'm in my closet like, bro, what the fuck? This was not the plan."
Like, it'll be good.
So
It's okay. Just
I
calm
got
down. It'll be
I
fine.
got the backpacks, and we came and we sat in the car. There was the driver and the guy who came after me, and we sat to the back. And I was I had to remember, and I had to be cool. At this point, the only thing that makes you alive is just you have to be cool. You have if somebody is going to ask you where are you going, I'm going to Herat. Very easy. I'm going to Herat
Yeah.
because you have no other choice. If you say okay, I'm going. If you shake, if your color is going to change, if your tone is going to change, you're gone. Then you have to be cool.